It began with an exodus. Thundera, our home, was destroyed. The mutants of Plundar craved the eye of Thundara, our greatest treasure. If they could not have it, no one would. We tried to escape. It was a massacre. Only one vessel survived. Today on the Comic Book Report, Thundercats, Volume 1, Omens, from Dynamite Entertainment. Stick around and check it out. Greetings everyone, my name is Dominic and today you're tuning in to the Comic Book Report, where we review comic books and graphic novels so you can get an idea of what to read. And today we're taking a look at a standard size hardcover that I got courtesy of Dynamite Entertainment. This is a series I have wanted to check out since I first talked to Declan Shalvey earlier this year, or late last year. I'm not sure when I'm releasing this video. Being a loose fan of the 80s cartoon series and reruns growing up, I knew I wanted to check out this run when I heard about it, and I was not disappointed. I can't wait to talk about it today, so let's go ahead and dive right in. First, some quick facts about today's collection. The issues in this volume were written by Declan Shalvey and Stephen Mooney, and penciled by Drew Moss and Stephen Mooney. The comics in this volume were published by Dynamite Entertainment beginning in 2024. The volume itself collects Thundercats, the 2024 series, issues 1 through 5. And finally, this is a nice standard size hardcover with glossy print paper stock, a glued binding, and a total of 136 pages. At this time, I'd like to go ahead and issue a general spoiler warning. I will be flipping through the contents of today's collection and commenting on plot points throughout. You've been advised. Okay, and here's our first look at today's standard size hardcover, again from Dynamite Entertainment. It should be noted, I believe this was also released in a standard size trade paperback, or of course the single issue floppy comics. I really dig this front cover. I love that we get to see so many of the main characters on full display, and I just think it really sells the book quite nicely. Transitioning now to the spine design, I just have to say I really love that shock of red. I think it looks really striking on the bookcase. The font is really legible and really nice to read with that white font. And overall, yeah, really good stuff here. Publisher, title, creators, and the volume number. And making our way to the back of the collection, we have a great image of Lion-O looking through his sword, the Eye of Thundara there with the Thundercats logo. Love it. We got a little blurb, description of the book, what it collects, pricing information, age rating, which is teen plus. I believe that's probably just for sequences of action, things like that. But yeah, really nice design here. I should say, if it wasn't obvious, there is no dust jacket cover for this hardcover. It's just the hardback book itself. And now for all you prospective collectors out there, I wanted to give a quick look at the binding for this hardcover. Like I said, it is a glued binding, but my copy laid down quite nicely. Overall, no complaints on the binding here. Very little gutter loss and couldn't be happier. Yeah, you can even see for yourselves, just very little gutter loss here. Well done, Dynamite. Yeah, sewn binding is always nice, but a glued binding like this, I definitely don't mind. Okay, now that we've talked about the book and gotten a good idea for the build of the book, we can jump into the collection proper. And as we flip across those couple first pages, we have a great logo of like that Thundercats logo, and then we have a sequence that we do the Thundercats, ho! With Lion-O, of course, activating his chosen sword, and this leads right into the kind of the title page of the whole collection, which I loved. We also have a creator breakdown, publication page, followed by a great little introduction from Declan Shalvey, the series writer. Then we have our chapter break image and kind of the first cover of the first issue, and we jump right into the collection. And as we make our way in, I will say again, I love that we get the covers at the front of each of these issues, a great way to break down the collection, and I don't always assume that anymore with these collections, that we're going to get all the covers included, or that we're all going to get them included between the issues. That's my personal preference when reading a collected edition, and I'm just happy to see that Dynamite observed that here. So as we get going, what is this Thundercats Omens? What do I need to know about it before I jump in? I'm happy to say really nothing. You don't really need to know anything about the Thundercats before picking up this book, and that's honestly why I really enjoy it. As someone who was a loose fan of the cartoon series that came out in the 80s, I watched the reruns in the 90s here and there, but I only had kind of a passing memory of Thundercats. It's definitely a nostalgic franchise for me, but not one that I have great memories of. So coming into this series, I really hoped it was, well, effectively what we have here, which is an origin story retelling. For fans of that original cartoon, you'll definitely see a lot of notable kind of plot bits that are identical or very similar, but what Declan's done here is expanded on them even further. We get to go a little more deeply with these characters. We get some added material as well. This isn't just a carbon copy adaptation of that animated series, but it's familiar enough for longtime fans that you will certainly recognize what's happening here. And I honestly think that is the exact chord you want to strike with a series like this. So this is a perfect place for new readers or people that are brand new to Thundercats. If you love that original series and you want to dive into this comic, I hope this fills you with the nostalgia that I really think it will. Now, Declan Shalvey is a comic book writer and artist, although for this series, he really just did the writing. We might have a couple covers or variant covers from Shalvey himself, but most of the pencil work, the art we have in this collection is from Drew Moss. And I really think this illustrator did a fantastic job. I think the character models all look really true to form to that animated series. It might be a little more rounded or cartoony in this comic book series in many ways to me, but still really beautiful stuff here from Drew Moss. Like I said, I really like his approach to these characters. The character models are familiar, and certainly if you've seen the cartoon, you know exactly what you're looking at here. And I should say the team of Shalvey and Moss do the first 4 issues of this collection, which is the first, story arc for Thundercats here. And then afterwards, this collection ends with the issue 5, which can be really read as kind of a one-shot or standalone after those first 4 issues. This issue is both written and illustrated by Stephen Mooney, and he has a very different, more kind of rigid and kind of mature looking art style. I really like that art as well, and I thought it was really fun to give a new creator a chance to tackle the Thundercats, especially for an issue that feels like a one-shot. I think it just worked really well. I like both parts of this collection, but I think having everything of these first 5 issues in this one collected edition, you just get a more well-rounded experience as a reader. So yeah, going back to the plot, essentially, if you've never seen the show, the plot is basically the planet of Thundara is basically destroyed thanks to this group of kind of evil creatures known as the mutants or something. They're trying to just destroy every remnant of Thundara. All of the vessels, all of the spaceships trying to flee from this planet, all get destroyed, presumably, other than the vessel containing our main cast of characters. We have Lion-O, who's kind of in line to be king one day. We have Chitara and some of these other characters. Again, these are all fan favorites from the animated series, but they're basically all on the ship in a kind of stasis as they travel to a new planet, and along the way we have kind of their king character having to take the brunt of it. He doesn't really survive the voyage as far as we can tell, and when everyone crash lands on this planet, everyone else really survives the trip, but we find out that Lion-O's stasis pod was slightly defective, so he aged a lot more than his other people that were in stasis. Basically, everyone else from this journey retained their age, but Lion-O, who was a very young man or young boy, is now in the body of a full-grown man. And now he has to be their leader, their king, and he has to figure out how to rule the Thundercats and kind of mature very quickly for what's asked of him. And that's really what we have here in this first volume, Omens, and I really like how these characters are handled. I think that they are done very well. Their voices are very reminiscent from, again, that animated series, but I think that you get even more interior life and character depth here provided by Declan Shalvey, which I really did enjoy seeing. And while he might not be in the very beginning of this comic book series, rest assured we do get the fan favorite Snarf. How can you not have Snarf in a Thundercats series? I was very happy to see his inclusion in this volume. Have a couple other characters introduced. We have Mum Ra as well as kind of one of the series' main antagonists. We have a couple of the mutants, which are these kind of mutated other animal race that's trying to battle against the Thundercats. I also really like that a big portion of this book was trying to make Lionel decide, Lion-O, did I say that weird? I almost said Lionel. Anyway, Lion-O has to basically decide, do we try to salvage our craft and go back to the stars to find a different planet, or do we make the most of this planet we've kind of crash landed on? Ultimately, he opts to stay on this planet to set up a base, but we have threats from the stars and even indigenous threats on this planet itself. So it's definitely ripe with conflict. I really love where this series is going after this foundational volume, and I really look forward to keeping up with the series as I'm able. One of the other things I liked about this volume as well, we have Pantera kind of challenge his leadership, challenge Lion-O. We have this really cool kind of duel that ends up happening. But yeah, everything's really cool. Everyone kind of falls in line. We do get to see, again, more of the interior life, especially with Lion-O, just really coming to terms with who he is now and what he has to be and what he has to do. And again, just really good conflict moments here. I think Shalvey nailed it on the characterization throughout this whole book. And like I said, I think that this is a fantastic foundational volume. I think it's a great entry point for anyone who wants to get into the Thundercats mythos without needing anything else. But yeah, really fun book here. Looking again, this is issue 5, like I said, with Mooney's artwork. It has a more adult-looking art style. It feels less rounded, animated, cartoony. I do like how this looks as well, and I'm really happy we got to see kind of a diversity of art styles, even within this Volume 1 collection. Now, after we have issue 5, which is really an issue focusing on Cheetara and Lion-O and her kind of taking him under her wing and encouraging him to be the king and kind of man he needs to be. Again, great issue. It's kind of a cool recap, too, on some of the events of the first 4 issues. A great place to end this volume, I think. But after that, we have a great collection of extras, including a full variant cover art gallery. Now, these aren't full-page variant covers. That would have been wonderful, but we do have everything kind of thumbnailized, and they have a nice little kind of glossary on the bottom of each page that outlines who was the artist for each of these covers. I do think, short of having a full-sized reprint of each variant cover, this is probably my next preferred way to do it. The thumbnails where everything clearly listed of who did what, and you still get to see all of the awesome variant covers they had for this series. And there were a ton, and honestly, as a fan of cover art and variant covers, this is a really nice treat. I've been seeing this more at the back of my Dynamite collections recently, and I have been ecstatic. As you can see, we just go on and on here. Each of the 5 issues had a ton of variants, and I love that they kind of took stock of all of them at the extras for this collection. I will say that this is really all the extras we get in this volume, other than kind of some solicits for some other series, like the Cheetara series. That's kind of a spin-off series of this one, which is fun. But yeah, other than that, this is really our extras for the collection, in addition to that introduction we got at the beginning from Declan Shalvey, which, again, a nice touch. And with these smaller volumes, you never know really what you're going to get in terms of extras, and I'm happy to report we did get a little collection of it here at the back of Thundercats. At any rate, that has been Volume 1 Omens for the Thundercats ongoing series at Dynamite. Now let's go ahead and give this collection a grade. For an unbelievably great foundational volume and introduction to the Thundercats universe, this first volume from Declan Shalvey, Drew Moss, and Stephen Mooney, in my mind, is definitely an above-average read. The fact that we have the varied art styles between the 2 artists we got across these 5 issues, along with all of the variant cover art, a great introduction, and even being in a hardcover format, the Comic Book Report is happy to give Thundercats Volume 1 Omens a B. This is definitely a series to watch out for, and I for one want to keep the story going. Immediately reminiscent of what made the original cartoon great, while also being a fantastic place to start with the series itself, even if you have no prior background with these characters. I love that we got a lot of character-driven storytelling even across these early issues, and I can't wait to see where the series goes from here. If you've read this first volume, or if you're currently reading the single issues of Thundercats, definitely let me know what you think of this series in the comments section below. And a huge thank you again to those at Dynamite Entertainment for sending me this review copy. Thanks so much to everyone watching as well, and until next time, this has been the Comic Book Report. Please don't forget to give this video a like, that comment we talked about, and maybe share the video with a friend. Thanks everyone, and have a good one.